Welcome back to Sahara TV. My name is Rudolf Okonkwo. In continuation with our ongoing discussion on the National Conference, we are pleased today to have the National Coordinator of the Oduaa People's Congress, OPC, Gani Adams, joining us from Lagos. Mr. Adams represents the Southwest at the National Conference. Mr. Adams, welcome to Sahara TV.
You're welcome.
Let me start by asking you, this is the third week of the conference, and you have 10 more weeks to go. People at the conference, the delegates, are they beginning to have a sense of urgency that time is running out?
Well, I can tell you authoritatively that we are making progress. Last week was so hot on the process of voting. The voting pattern gave us a tough time because the result of a decision from the South and the North. Most of the Northerners won 75% as a voting pattern, and the Southerner won two-thirds majority. So in the process, the plenary was so hot to the extent that 49 men and women committee was established, and they made the conference officials. They met for 3 days and later agreed on 70%. And all the zones made their delegate, and they discussed with their delegate to later reach an agreement and make the plenary on Monday so cool. So later we now agree on 70% of voting. But from Monday, we were commenting on the speech of Mr. President on the inaugural day. So we are being given an opportunity to speak for every three minutes in alphabetic order. So I have spoke on Monday. About 76 delegates spoke yesterday, and today almost 80 delegates spoke. So right now the conference is making progress. After the end of the comment on the president's speech, they will now give us the kind of committee we belong, because they have given us a document to suggest 3 types of committee. So the conference officials will now announce the committee that every one of us belong. We have about 5 different committees that we discuss in totality everything about this nation. So definitely with the progress of the conference, we are making a very strong move.
Now, in an interview with airport correspondents published by the African Examiner, you said that the delegates that they could not afford to waste Nigeria's money. You are quoted as saying that we must ensure that we build a new Nigeria. How do you think that this national conference will build a new Nigeria?
Well, it depends on the delegates, because before I go on that interview, some delegates were just giving us an impression that we are mere advisory committee to Mr. President. And some of them were giving an impression that the conference was not established based on the Constitution. And some of them were very, very convenient with 1999 Constitution. And some of the former parliamentarians who are members of the House of Assembly or Senate, especially Ken Nnamani, was giving us an impression that this gathering is not as legitimate like National Assembly. So with that impression, we have to open up to the whole nation that we can't afford to waste taxpayer money. 7 billion naira is not a small money. So we have to send the signal to the whole world that the delegates in the conference have to be very, very serious on what we are doing. One of the reasons we call for this conference is to build a new constitution, because the constitution that was given to us in 1999 was not written by Nigerians. It's about 26 men of army occupation that designed and gave that constitution to former President of Nigeria, Olusegun Obasanjo, in 1999. And we realized that there's a lot of flaws in the constitution. That was one of the reasons we continued calling for sovereign or national conference before President Goodluck Jonathan gave us the opportunity in October 1st. So for any delegate to come here and be saying that there is mere advisory committee to Mr. President, we suspect institution that we have a lot of sabotage products in the conference. That was one of the things I said, that we cannot afford to waste 7 billion naira.
Now, let's leave the delegates who are in there. What about people like Professor Nwabeze, who said that the conference has no legal way to make their decisions, either a constitution, a new constitution, or to make it a law? How do you think that the decisions that the delegates will come up with can become laws?
Well, when you are talking of legal way, most of the constitution that was produced by Nigeria, the same pattern of nominating us to the conference, that was the same pattern they nominated. The constitution of 1913 before amalgamation, most of the representatives were nominated. And the constitution, Richard Constitution in 1922 was the same thing. And the constitution of 1946 was the same thing. The Republican Constitution, even before the Republican Constitution, there was a constitutional conference in London in 1957. They were being nominated. They were not elected. And 1958 Constitution, those who write, that's the best constitution Nigeria has ever had. 1963 Constitution, which is Republican Constitution. They were not elected, they were being nominated. And even the 1994-95 Constitution, the people who decided that we should have the 6 zonal arrangement, I'm talking of 6 geopolitical zones, they were being nominated, they were not being elected. So definitely, even the 2005 National Political Reform Conference, they were being nominated, they were not elected. You know, Nigeria are so funny people. Elections are coming. Some people are not convenient with what President Jonathan is doing. Anything they saw that President Jonathan is doing, they are being suspicious, maybe because he's doing it because of 2015. So you can't afford having a personality, almost 75% of the product of this conference, they are who is who in Nigeria. And we have 492 people in the conference. For you to say that they don't have a legitimate backing, what is legitimate? In a process that a commander-in-chief appoints you and inaugurates you, that you should decide on the future of this country. It gave us the mandate to decide on resource control, restructuring, structure of the government, devolution of power. The president listed it in his speech, inaugural speech. So for you now to say that they don't have a constitutional backing, I don't understand what Professor Nwabeze is saying. We do respect. I respect him as one of the best constitutional lawyer, because I read his interview. He was talking about the 70% voting pattern, that any genuine things that can make changes, fundamental changes in Nigeria, cannot skate through with the 70%. But we are there. We hear the feelings of the people, especially the comments of the people. Even the Northerners, we are calling for restructuring. When they allow them to speak on the speech of Mr. President, even the former Vice President, Atiku, Abubakar Atiku, said Nigeria must be restructured. That we have to make a fundamental change. And this is one of the people that condemned the conference before. So if you are not there, you can't know what is happening. And most of us that were so angry with ourselves in the time of voting patterns, we now become friends, talking and educating ourselves. Because some of them have the impression that the Southerners is coming to come and impose their agenda on them. But now they realize that Nigeria needs a fundamental change for us to move forward.
All right, let me ask you, because it appears from interviews that you agree with the president that there should be no-go areas, that certain things should not be discussed. Now, are you worried that certain discussions now lead to those no-go areas? For instance, there was a threat by the Lamido of Adamawa that the North may walk away from the conference if certain things happen in certain ways. Are you concerned that this might lead to different people saying that if we don't get what we want, we walk away from the conference and maybe walk away from Nigeria?
I believe that there is eminent, the Emir of Oduaa spoke on annoyance. But now he has realized that in a gathering like that, he must not speak on annoyance. We are there together after that speech on Thursday or Friday. But now I can tell you authoritatively, Lamido Oduaa did not want Nigeria to break. I think maybe it was provoked to speak in that direction, because if you watch the proceeding of the argument on the voting patterns, it was so hot. There was a lot of voices coming from different angles. I think that was what led him to speak like that. But notwithstanding, I believe by now he will not think on that direction. And as an emir, one of the most respected emir, for him to utter a word, he must control his emotion. So it's one of the respected emir. He's very calm and a very respected person in the gathering. So I don't want to comment more about that issues. But notwithstanding, every delegate in that conference is not interested on secession or breaking of Nigeria, because the procedure, the law of the conference is that we must protect the unity of the country. We can negotiate it. We can negotiate our existence, but we must not hurt on the unity of Nigeria to the extent that Nigeria can break in the process. We have to be very careful. That was what the Mr. President was enacting on his speech. He made that comment more than 4 times within 15 to 20 minutes speech. So I think Mr. President was so serious about it, and every reliable Nigeria will not want Nigeria to break. So I believe it's eminent. The Emir of Adamawa just spoke on annoyance, but now everything is in shape.
Now let's talk about what happened today. That's today, Wednesday. There was a discussion about where Christians were demanding some changes in the Constitution, and they were pointing out that there were mentions of Islam in the Constitution, that there was no recognition of Christianity in the Constitution. What happened?
I was shocked because I listened to the Christian delegate from the Christian Association of Nigeria yesterday. So I now read one of the newspaper, Ganiyu newspaper. I saw a quote here that Islam was mentioned for 73 times. Another word of Islam was mentioned for about 20-something times. And Muslim was mentioned in many times in the Constitution, and Christian was not mentioned in the Constitution at all. I think I will take my time to read Nigerian Constitution, because if it happens like that, it's very, very sad. No matter the situation, we must respect our secularity. Nigeria is a secular state. Nigeria is not an Islamic state. So, and even before the issue of Christianity, even before not bringing the name of Christianity into the Constitution, everybody knows that the 1999 Constitution is not Nigerian Constitution. It's a military constitution. That was one of the reasons we are calling for this conference. Nigeria did not sit down to write 1999 Constitution. And so tricky they are. They wrote that we, the people of Nigeria, who are the we? So that was one of the reasons the President Goodluck Jonathan yielded to the voice of the people to allow this conference to hold. So I will appeal to the Christian Association of Nigeria that already we have had the opportunity to make a change. We have an opportunity to write a constitution of our own. The only thing that we press on is that there must be a fundamental change in this country through the conference. And there must be a new constitution Let us forget about what happened in the 1999 Constitution. It's not the Constitution that the people of Nigeria wrote. It's a Constitution that was developed and edited by the military in power. So definitely, we know there will be a fundamental change in this conference to solve the problem of lopsidedness on the issue of one religion or the other.
So are you envisaging that there will be addition of Christianity in the Constitution or taking out of Islam? What do you think will happen?
Nigeria is not living on the basis of Christianity and Islam. We have the traditional believers. They might be minority. We must not give an impression that Nigeria is living based on Christian and Muslim. Christian and Muslim are the most popular religions in Nigeria. But we have a root. Before coming of Christian and Muslim, our forefathers have been living with one religion or the other. In as much they have their language, they must have their religion before Christian and Muslim. What solved the problem in total is that Nigeria is a secular state. So the issue of religion should be removed from our document, either Christian or Muslim, so that we will not trigger a controversy. Because if care is not taken, the way Nigeria is going, if we don't handle it very well, Nigeria will return to a religious crisis. You can see what is happening in the north through Boko Haram. And the Boko Haram have become unstoppable from the government. So if we allow the issue of religion to reflect so much in our constitution, that will be a serious problem in this country.
Okay. Now, we're running out of time. Let me ask you about something else. The House of Horror that was recently uncovered in Ibadan. You gave a media statement where you said that you blame the elites and church leaders for that. Can you explain that a little bit, because it wasn't clear to me?
Well, it's unfortunate because something like that has been happening. You know, our organization have a security antecedent, and we have preview to many informations. Look, we have got many informations that from Ishagamu to Ijebu, many people have been kidnapped and you don't see them anymore. From Ogeri to Ibadan, a lot of that incident has happened, which they have reported to us. And even in older areas, something like that has happened. From Akure to Ilesha, we have got many information that something horror like that has happened. From Owo to Kene, we got many information of something like that. And from our investigation, most of our elites and power that be, even some religious leaders involved in that disaster heart. And at the same time, most of Nigerian wealthy people involved in it. That's why the people that are involved in that kind of disaster heart are so confident doing it on the stage of impunity. If the media will not cooperate with the people on the issue of Ibadan, they could have covered it up. Now, the incident has happened for the past 10 days to 2 weeks. The principal actors in that act have never been mentioned. Look at what they are telling us, that some madman was being detained. Who are behind the madman? How can somebody have an underground keeping people for a period of 2 years there? And a lot of skeletons was being saw in that place. Who are the financiers? Who are the people behind that? Ordinarily, a common person cannot have an underground. A common person cannot bring like about 15 to 20 people, take them underground for a period of 3 years. Who will be feeding them without the support of who is who in the society? I'm using this opportunity to call on Nigeria to pressurize Nigerian police, state security service, to make sure the people behind this disaster act. In a society, if you encourage something like that, that means you don't know who will be the victim at the end of the day. So there is reported cases of many people missing, and at the end of the day, we didn't discover where they are. So that was one of the reasons I'm calling on the public. Apart from giving police an information, The public should be very careful on that spot. They should not enter a transport vehicle in the night. Anytime they want to pass through those roads, must be in broad daylight, unless when you have your private vehicle that you want to use to fly that road.
All right, one last question. There seem to be in the media, when they talk about the OPC, two factions of the OPC. One that is associated with things like protecting pipelines, oil pipelines, and one that does things around security. What can you help people understand what is going on within the OPC at us?
No OPC for now that protects pipeline. No any OPC involved in the protection of pipeline. Dr. Peribache will be there for it. And we told the government that even though he be there for it, you must share the contract 50-50. But in the process, he overplayed the issue in the media. And most of the enemies of OPC blockade the process. I'm telling you authoritatively, no contract was given to OPC to protect pipeline. We still remain resolute. We still remain focused on the ability to protect the interests of Nigeria and to protect the interests of the Yoruba people. We believe that we should sustain the identity of the Yoruba people. We should make sure that justice and equity reign in the society called Nigeria. So no job for pipeline was given to any OPC by the government or individual.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Adams.
You're welcome.
That has been the OPC National Coordinator. He is also a delegate to the National Conference. I hope you stay tuned for more of our programs. Thank you.